Hello everybody. So I thought I would do a short video talking about um, basically Linux versus Windows and Mac and everything else. And basically, I don't care so much about all the other open source software that's competing with Linux. I don't care. Like honestly, if you want to use that, go. I mean, I think it's really this. You're doing the same good. Like I think you're doing the same amount of good by supporting any sort of all free software, GNU based software. I believe the software license used for totally free, as in freedom software, is GPL version 3, which has basically been created by some people at the Free Software Foundation, Richard Stallman, all those guys. If you know stuff about computers, you probably know about those people. And basically, these people who've dedicated their lives to combating the self-fulfilling prophecy of copyrights and patents, and how people think they're necessary for economic stimulation or for profitability, all these various things, right? And that just doesn't make sense to me on a very fundamental level. It's like, okay, so, well, if people like your product, they will give you money for it. They will donate money. I mean, we've seen this. Like, I mean, there's all these Linux foundations and stuff like that. They obviously they're non-profit, but they get plenty of donations because people are like, well, fuck yeah, we should have free software for every computer. We should have free software for all the computers so that people, again, so the computers don't control us. So the idea is, for me, the reason I use KDE, I believe they changed the name to KDE Neon now, but it used to be KDE Plasma. So I use KDE Neon with Ubuntu and like all the regular repositories. I would be considered a normie in that respect to many people, because Ubuntu is more of the mainstream. It's like the Mac of Linux because it's so common. But at the same time, the Linux software is all free, and it's the vast majority of it's open source. So you can go in, and if you don't like the way a program works, you can go in and fix the program yourself. And I've done this multiple times. Now, I'm not talking like I'm not saying like I know how to code or anything like that, but problems that I've had with my computer before with Linux, I've been able to fix them myself. Now, that is not something that you're able to get with Windows at all, because simply Windows, the whole market scheme behind it, and Red Hat as well, is they want you to pay for basically assistance and service at fixing the computer. So they want you to pay for basically any sort of customer support that you would get, and Ubuntu does this as well. Now the thing is that actually a lot of these companies do this because that is basically their main source. That's how they're employed, really. They're fixing their software. They're constantly improving it. However, seems to me like pretty much proprietary software tends to die out either faster or it never dies out, and you fucking like, again, they're like suing everybody left and right because they're so goddamn pretentious and obnoxious. So, Microsoft, they're the ones that have been perpetuating all these this shit against Linux and BSD and everything, saying that they own the patents to, I mean, practically everything. I mean, we're talking about lines of code, a few lines of code in a fucking program, in a document or some shit, and they're obsessed with it. They pay off all these open source watchdog programs so that they do not they do not file any GPL version 3 licenses. They do not want them to have these GPL version 3 licenses because that means that that product is free, as in you can never make a goddamn penny off of it. You don't even try. And so, of course, Microsoft hates the shit out of that. And even most Linux people don't care all that much for it. There's only a few Linux distros that are all entirely like GNU supported, GPL 3 like licensed and everything like that, because even like Ubuntu, for example, has some non-free proprietary components such as NVIDIA graphics drivers, Radeon graphics drivers, all this different stuff. And so basically the reason why I am advocating for free software and GPL version 3 software is that, like I said before, either our computers control us, as in we have to go and constantly get support for fixing our computer, so we can, you know, they can obviously pay the people at the company and et cetera, dividends, which, you know, it's not necessary if you have an open source program and you know what code you need to fix your problem. I mean, you can look up these solutions to your problems on Stack Exchange or Ask Ubuntu. I mean, there's a bunch of different websites. So, you know, GitHub, you can download. I mean, you can download thousands of totally free, open source programs on there, and you know, it actually made China mad. Like, China was actually trying to like ban GitHub for a while, and then they realized, well, literally like fucking everybody wants free software, so they don't get, you know, the curb stomped by corporate greed. So why the fuck don't we just allow the people to use GitHub? And that's China. That's China. Like they're the most restrictive goddamn regime, one of the most restrictive regimes in the fucking world, the most corrupt regimes in the world is like, yeah, they should have GitHub so they can use free software. And so the reason why I say the patent thing and the copyright shit is a self-fulfilling prophecy is that people say, right, that is if something is not for profit, if a product is not for profit, then, oh, well, where are they getting money? Well, I mean, as we all know, YouTube has advertisements. You can donate money to any, like I said, you know, not-for-profit organization. And again, it's all about customer trust. I don't know. It's like with the open source product, you have trust built there because, again, you know the code is there. You see the code. Now, maybe not always the developers are very open about whatever the hell there is they're doing. I don't care about that, really. We're talking about software here. So it's free, and I can change the code myself. I don't have to be beholden to whoever that runs the fucking program to make sure that they update it and do all this other shit. And again, I don't have to be feeding into the self-fulfilling prophecy of, oh, I gotta buy products because otherwise it won't. The products won't. They won't. The idea is almost like if I don't keep buying products, they won't keep making products. Like if I don't keep buying software, they won't keep making software, and that's just simply not true. I mean, like I said, there's thousands of Linux distributions that are free, and like I said, Windows is going against Linux in such an extreme way that they're implying that they're profiting off of Linux. I mean, they've basically gone out and said, not explicitly, of course, they never would do this shit, but you know, they don't want any of it to be free because that goes right against their bottom line. That goes right against their user base, and that's why, again, Windows is losing money, and sadly Mac is gaining traction, and Android is gaining traction, which, you know, they're both proprietary essentially. I mean, Android is based on Linux and is theoretically open source. However, it's closed source. They don't release the source code. And so the more people buy into this idea that you have to buy software, and it has to be proprietary, and you have to pay some asshole that you can't trust to fucking fix it for you whenever the fuck they're gonna do that. Good luck. And it's really stupid. And so it's like, when I see people using the main operating systems now, I almost see it as like, I can see transparently, I can see right through their capitalist ideals, right? They think that, well, you have to pay into the capitalist system through everything you do. You can't even run a computer that does not, again, pay for every little fucking blob of text, pay for every little fucking file and bit of media. And again, if you try to exhibit any of these programs or whatever without compensating them, you know, if you try to, like, let's say if you're an educator, you have to pay. You have to pay a software license for Microsoft Office. You have to pay for all this shit. That makes no sense. Again, that's literally a libertarian idea. It's like, let's privatize everything. Let's make everything paid. Let's make everybody have to be enslaved to us. So they have to pay us more to get the product they want. And then again, this is how it works always. Especially when a product is winding down and they're about to end it. They're just like, well, they're not paying us enough, so we don't really care. And so they just, you know, maybe you release a few updates here and there, and then it just fucking fades out. And I've seen it a million times. And of course, the same thing happens with open source software constantly. However, again, with open source software, you could revive it at any time. Any program that you find anywhere on the Ubuntu repository, you could go in and you could say, like, let's say Foxtrot GPS is one that they use for GPS systems and all that stuff. You could go in and say, well, I'd like to use Foxtrot GPS, but I'd like to do like a different stylized version. So let's say they want different colors, they want the maps to look different, they want this, that, or whatever, but they still want the same core concepts to the program. They can do that. Again, it's like, even if you want to totally rip off an open source program and you could release Foxtrot GPS and fucking just change a few lines of code and then just fucking call it like, something completely different, and you would get away with it. You would get away with it because it's totally legal. Again, that's the whole point. The whole point of the Linux movement is that we're trying to say no shit that's on that runs your computer, that runs your life, basically, should be proprietary, should be outside of your ability to fix it, because again, you just end up paying more into the system, more into the capitalist regime of copyrights and intellectual property, which Windows seems to think that pretty much everything is intellectual property. I mean, fucking voice over IP with like Skype, that's intellectual property. Microsoft.net, that's intellectual property, even though it's some fucking lines of code. And so, again, they're basically trying to copyright languages. They're trying to copyright languages. They're trying to copyright the most general shit. I mean, it's like, that's why there is nothing. There's no competitors to Skype right now other than Google, right? So it's Microsoft and Google. They're the only fucking people in the game. You cannot do shit else. Again, the reason why that is because Microsoft is paying off the Linux Foundation. Tons of companies, in fact, are paying off the Linux Foundation to keep quiet about all the closed source shit and all the closed source litigation against open source programs and all of the shit where they're trying to belittle the people that have nothing into a corner so that they, again, will make sure that they have nothing, so there's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah, that free software will never work out. Nobody cares enough. Well, they don't care enough because they're getting bought. They're getting fucking paid out big time by Windows. Or what the major problem really, I think, is that there's a lack of interest. So I guess that comes to the reason why I'm making this video. So there's a lack of interest in Linux because, it's against people's ideals of capitalism, of again, copyright and intellectual property, and I really don't think anything about Windows should be copyrighted. Like, there's nothing about it that's original or different or special or like remotely worth paying for. Like, again, that's why everybody pirates it, and somehow Bill Gates doesn't get that. They've been pirating it since day one, and he's like, no, it's because they're just jerks, man. They're just a bunch of jerks. It's like, how the fuck are these high school students that's supposed to be paying for Windows 7 or Windows 10 or Windows 8 or fucking 11, 12, 13, 14, 15? It's all the same shit. Again, they want you to pay $300 fucking dollars for a basic ass operating system where you cannot change any of the fucking shit yourself. And then don't cry about it. Don't use any open source software because we're buying those guys out. And yeah, just keep being a slave to fucking again, copyright Nazis, and also in general the extremely right-wing government that believes in privatizing everything. So yeah, fuck privatization. I'm not gonna. Yeah, there's just no. There's no reason to support the privatization movement, people. Like, all they want to do is literally take away people's rights, put them in cages, and starve them to death, okay? They want to copyright formulas for fucking food. They want to copyright, Monsanto's already copyrighted their GMO strains of plants. I mean, it's all about libertarian, capitalist psychopathy is really all it is. They want to copyright everything because they're so immensely greedy. Again, there's such an immense amount of greed. They own, again, 1% of people own over 50% of the wealth in the world. That's not enough for them. So they have to copyright, like, fucking hello, saying the word hello. They're going to just copyright that soon because we have a new program, hell.o. Version 3 on fucking Windows 11, and it's like, it's our new texting program, and it's totally deserving of a copyright and a proprietary license, and yeah, you shouldn't use any of our code or copy it or fucking, give it away to 1,000 people for free. Like, goddamn, that's what I want to do. I just want to, like, with the Windows and the Mac people, it's like, I just hate them so much. I want to, like, go out and give away free Mac and Windows CDs to everybody and just be like, yeah, fuck you. Like, they don't deserve their little goddamn pedestal that they're on. Like, they really don't, because again, what they're doing is they're trying to copyright language. They're trying to copyright extremely general things like breathing and air and trees. And it's not acceptable. And so that's why I'm going to continue to use Linux. I started using it in 2010, but that was only temporarily. And then I started using it in earnest towards the end of 2015, and beginning of 2016 is when I actually started using it entirely. And so I haven't used anything other than, like I said, Kubuntu Linux since then, except, of course, I've changed desktop environments and all that and everything. And, of course, some people will probably have objections to this video and saying that, well, that's not a GNU software. And so I totally agree with that. And I want to say that my main disagreement with the GNU project is that it's not so much a disagreement as like, okay, they're fighting for people's rights. And Richard Stallman, this guy, again, he just to the sake of making a point, he runs all these GNU-based, entirely free operating systems on a netbook computer. Again, it's to illustrate the point. This is what people are really like. They have to fucking, they don't have a lot of money. They don't have a lot of resources. They don't have a fancy computer. So why the fuck would they have money for $300 Windows? I don't understand that. But yeah, so I totally am with 100% the GNU operation. It's just that none of the GNU operating systems that I've seen so far are really like just. I mean, the thing is that they're sufficient, right? And they work, right? It's just that it's like, again, it's like you can use thousands of different versions of Linux. And if I wanted to make my own like open source version of my own operating, like I could make my own open source version of my computer right now that I have. I could use a package, not a package builder, but a distribution builder, and just take out the non-free proprietary, like, supposedly in theory proprietary software, and get rid of it. But my thing is, I'm more of an anarchist in that sense, in that I don't think that copyright should apply at all. I already, I've made videos recently that have basically been to spit in the face of copyright people. So it's like, if you want to, okay, so you want to make money off of everything that has even a second of your stupid little fucking songs, your stupid little fucking video clips. So how about I just like make it obviously against you, and obviously like anti-natalist, and obviously like I want to fucking die instead of being in part of your guys' system. And so I don't care if somebody wants to sue me for having some non-free blobs of code on my computer. I think that those people, first of all, they don't have any rights under the law to say what they're saying. That, oh well, oh, you have proprietary software, I could sue you, and oh, how dare you use this software that's not yours and you didn't pay for it. And yeah, you shouldn't pay for software. So that's it, guys. Peace.